Good morning, friends. I am grateful for the opportunity that we have to spend time in God's Word, preparing our hearts for Christmas. I can't believe it's already December 6th. And before we jump in, I want to do two things with you. The first one, really quick, is I want to brag about the generosity of you, of our church. As you know, every year at Christmas time, we have an opportunity to adopt some families who may need a little extra help making Christmas happen for their kids. Well, this year we have more people who are ready to adopt families than we have families in need, which is a great problem to have. You have been so generous. So here's what we're asking. If you know someone who may be facing a tough spot and it might be a challenge for them to help Christmas happen for their kids, will you please let them know that they can contact Debbie at the church office, either give a call or just stop by. We would love to make Christmas possible for them. The second thing is that since it is the first Sunday of the month, we're going to be sharing communion together today at the end of my message. So now is a great time for you to go ahead and get your elements. If you don't already have your bread and your cup ready, you can go ahead and do that. You can even press pause and then just come right back. I'll wait. All right. Our Christmas series this year, as you know, is called Christmas Unveiled. And it's so easy in our society to get caught up, in the trees and the gifts and the elves and the reindeer and the good food and the Christmas parties that we forget the reason for our celebrations. The Sundays leading up to Christmas are known as Advent, and as we started our service, we lit those candles. They're designed, this season of Advent is designed to draw us out of the distractions and the busyness of the year, even to draw us out of the distractions of the holiday prep, to help us focus on the splendor of what Christmas really is, the birth of Jesus, the Christ. Each of the Advent candles has a theme associated with it, and as we light those candles each week, it helps prepare our hearts for genuine celebration. It reminds us, week after week, of the heightening anticipation of Christ's coming. And since there's more light each week as we light those candles, ideally, the truths of what Christmas really is even better illuminated. Last week, as we lit the candle of hope, Brian reminded us that hope is crucial if we're going to make it in life. And though we may have struggles, we nevertheless have hope in God. We learned that Israel was in a bad, dark, wintry place. Their hearts were cold toward God. They looked everywhere else but to God for the help they needed as the Assyrians were breathing down their neck. Nevertheless, God offered hope. And in the first 5 verses of Isaiah chapter 9, God describes how there will be light for the people, how there will be joy and victory. And it's all going to come in an unlikely way, totally out of the hands of human plans or wisdom. God will provide the completely effective solution in a child, a son. The Isaiah passage that Brian walked us through last week refreshes our hope as we look toward Christmas. Today, we lit the second candle, the candle of peace, and it's really amazing the power that little 5-letter word carries. It's something that everyone longs for because we live in a world that desperately needs it. We live in a COVID world that has truly pitted families against one another. Come for the holidays, don't come for the holidays. Wear a mask, don't wear a mask. Our freedoms are being trampled. What good are freedoms if we're dead? Seldom are the conversations calm and peaceful. Instead, people are speaking in grand, animated tones. And when it comes to politics in our country, there's no peace right now. We all know that. That doesn't even need to be elaborated upon. Financially, think about the businesses, large and small, that have gone bankrupt this year. Lucky's Markets, J. Crew, Neiman Marcus, California Pizza Kitchen. Ah, poor Sam. Sam loves California Pizza Kitchen. Locally, mom and pop shops that just can't make it are shutting their doors for good. Financial peace and security are hard to come by. Children in our state, many of them haven't been back to school since March. They've never gone back, and they're trying to learn from a distance. Those poor kids, as tech-focused and savvy as they seem to be, are done with digital. They want face-to-face interaction in person with real people. What started out as fun, being away from school, isn't fun anymore. And the children who went to school not only for an education, but to get out of a bad home situation, are stuck at home, still in that situation. There's no peace in the lives of those young ones. Their worlds are upside down. And our seniors may be struggling most of all. It's always been a challenge for people as they age. Their bodies don't cooperate. It's harder to get out and about like they used to. There's health struggles, and often an isolation that comes when family moves away and friends pass away. But 2020 just kicked it up a notch. Interaction with others has been highly discouraged, if not prohibited, and some seniors who live in residential facilities haven't seen loved ones since the spring. I could go on, but gratefully I won't. We long for peace because we desperately need it. And not only personally, but nationally and around the world. Just ask any Miss America contestant what she most wants, and she will say with a sparkle in her eye, world peace. You can look for peace all you want in safety and security and money and family and political national security, physical health, or even the perfect Christmas gathering. You can look all those places, and you might find peace for a little while, but it won't last. The only way to have peace that'll last is to be intimately connected to the one who is the source of peace. And that's what the first 5 verses of Isaiah chapter 9 were pointing us to last week. God was telling Israel, I've got a plan to restore you. I'm bringing light, and I'm going to turn your hopelessness upside down. I'm going to make a way where there seems to be no way. And that way is through the birth of a child, a son. Brian just touched on that near the end of his message last time. So, what's God's plan? What's he going to do? Well, take a look at Isaiah chapter 9, verse 6. I've got it on the screen for you. For to us a child is born, to us a son is given, and the government will be on his shoulders. And he will be called Wonderful Counselor, Mighty God, Everlasting Father, Prince of Peace. See, God's plan is for a child to be born to us or for us. And in the context of the passage, admittedly, the us is Israel. But we know that what God did wasn't just for Israel, but for you and me as well. The child will be born for our benefit, despite all our sin and rebelliousness toward God. The child is given to us by God. The child will have the authority, capability, and responsibility to be the leader we so desperately need. And the text gives us 5 descriptions of this leader, who this child will become, and what his reign will be like. You and I are often confused, confounded, and in our need of direction in life, we know that we can find it in the one that God has provided, in the Wonderful Counselor. He'll speak with authority. He will possess the richest, most robust resource of good input and wisdom, and knowing that he only has our best interest in mind, we can always trust his input and leadership in our lives. This is describing, Wonderful Counselor is describing his role as our king and leader. It affirms his competent and informed leadership in our lives. It speaks to his trustworthiness. You can trust the counsel of his word and its direction in your life. What he says will happen, and what he promises will come to fruition. You and I have limited power and strength. But the Son that is born to us is the mighty God. He is the God who fights for you. Yahweh himself fights for you. This title emphasizes his divine power and his bravery as a warrior. God never loses, so you always want to be on his team. No enemy or challenge is too great. Nothing is impossible with God. When you let him lead your life, he brings his power to help you break free from destructive habits and patterns of living, from the fears and insecurities that plague you, from the deepest, darkest winters where hope seems far away. You and I, we're finite and have limited resources. But the Son born for us wants to watch over you like an eternal, ever-present Father who always takes perfect care of his kids. He'll be your eternal provider, protector, purpose, and peace if you'll let him. And he'll never get tired, weary, or quit. His supply is unlimited. He will love you endlessly, guide you perfectly, and give you exactly what you need when you need it forever. This is highlighting the enormity of his care and concern for you. When you let him lead your life, there's no situation, no pain, no hurt, no problem, and no difficulty that he doesn't understand or that he cannot help you through. And his promise to watch over you is good forever. Now, here's the title that I pray we'll be able to get our heads and hearts around in a fresh way today. The Son born to us will be the Prince of Peace. And that's describing a couple of things. First, it's talking about what he brings to those he leads. He has the power, authority, and wisdom to bring peace to you, to others, even to the world. This Son born to us is the source of peace. Peace for you and peace in you. But it's also talking about how the Son will govern. Unlike earthly kings that Israel would have been used to, or perhaps leaders that we are familiar with, the Son will lead from a position of peace. His governing won't be about confrontation or threats or wars. Instead, he will be the promoter of peace, administering peace just as freely as he possesses it. He will perpetuate peace. He will be the peaceful prince. He will be known for leading out of his peacefulness, and it will affect everyone and everything around him. Now think about what that means for you personally. The Son makes it possible for you to have peace. When you let him lead your life and you listen to his word, apply it and follow it, you will come to experience peace with God, peace with others, and peace with yourself. The promised Son has come to be the banner of peace that hangs over your life. Now take a look at verse 7 really quick. It says, of the greatness of his government and peace, there will be no end. You see that? His peace doesn't run out. The peace he gives doesn't expire. He will reign on David's throne and over his kingdom, establishing and upholding it with justice and righteousness from that time on and forever. So how long is it going to last? Forever. And then it says, the zeal of the Lord Almighty will accomplish this. I think those last two lines might be the most powerful part. The zeal of the Lord Almighty will accomplish this. It's the fire in God's belly, so to speak, that's going to make it happen. It's God's passionate, focused concern for his people Israel that's driving it. But it's not just about Israel. God wants humanity to be right with him. And he is so committed to seeing that happen that he's going to do it himself. Here's what I mean. Really quick, take a look at Luke chapter 1, verses 31 to 33. It's on the screen, so you don't have to go anywhere. But check this out. The angel Gabriel is talking to Mary about what's coming. He says, "You will conceive and give birth to a son, and you are to call him Jesus. He'll be great and will be called the Son of the Most High. The Lord God will give him the throne of his father David, and he will reign over Jacob's descendants," that's Israel, "forever. His kingdom will never end." Do you see that? The zeal of the Lord Almighty will accomplish this. God's prophecy spoken through Isaiah that a royal son would be born who would reign on David's throne forever was fulfilled when Jesus was born to Mary. This is how dedicated, how committed God is to making you right with him. Is that soaking in? Is the reality of his love for you getting past the stresses and the strains and the struggles that are in your life right now? I hope you're grasping, maybe in a new way, that God himself wants to be your peace. God followed through just as he promised. Jesus, the one born at Christmas, is the Son given for us. He is the Prince of Peace. He is the one who makes it possible for you to have peace with God, with others, and even with yourself. Do you know him? Do you have peace? If you don't, I'm going to give you a chance to change that in just a few minutes near the end of my message. So watch for it. But for now, hold on to that Prince of Peace descriptor as you flip forward to the book of Micah. We're going to take a look at Micah chapter 5. Next to Isaiah 9, Micah 5 has one of the best known Christmas quotes ever. See if you recognize it. Follow along as I read, starting in verse 2 of Micah 5. It says, "But you, Bethlehem Ephrathah, though you are small among the clans of Judah, out of you will come for me one who will be ruler over Israel, whose origins are from of old, from ancient times." Now skip down to verse 4. "He will stand and shepherd his flock in the strength of the Lord, in the majesty of the name of the Lord his God. And they will live securely. For then his greatness will reach to the ends of the earth, and he will be their peace." For the Bible nerds who are tuning in, did any of that sound familiar to you? Parts of that text are quoted in Matthew chapter 2 in the Christmas story, right after the wise men arrive asking where the king of the Jews is because they want to worship him. And, King Herod freaks out. He doesn't know. He calls the Jewish leaders in and asks them, where is the Messiah, the Christ, to be born? And they say, in Bethlehem in Judea. For this is what the prophet, they're talking about Micah, has written. "But you, Bethlehem, in the land of Judah, are by no means least among the rulers of Judah, for out of you will come a ruler who will shepherd my people Israel." I love that the chief priests and teachers of the law quote Micah because they're confirming that Jesus is the one who was born in Bethlehem. He is indeed the King of the Jews. Jesus is the one whose birth we celebrate at Christmas as the promised Messiah. All of that confirmed right there. Micah prophesied in verse 2 of chapter 5 of Micah, "Out of you, Bethlehem, will come for me one who will be ruler over Israel." Micah says the Messiah King will be born in Bethlehem. And over 700 years later, his arrival is confirmed by those Jewish leaders. God delivered on his promise. The Son has been born to us. The King has come. But he won't be just any king. He'll be the wonderful counselor, mighty God, everlasting Father, Prince of Peace. Look again at Micah chapter 5, verse 4 with me. He will stand and shepherd his flock in the strength of the Lord, in the majesty of the name of the Lord his God. And they will live securely, for then his greatness will reach to the ends of the earth. The King of the Jews will be like a shepherd overseeing his flock with all the strength and authority of Yahweh, of God himself. Under the care of the shepherd, as part of the flock, people will live securely. He will be their provider and protector. He will give them purpose. He'll bring meaning to their lives. Now, look at the first sentence of verse 5. And he will be, say it with me, their peace. He, this good shepherd, will be their peace. He will be their peace, not their jobs or their health or their homes or their families or their political leaders. The shepherd will be their peace. Now, I'm sure you know where I'm going, but just in case, listen to what Jesus has to say to some Jewish leaders in John chapter 10. We'll roll it right into the screen for you. Jesus says, I am the good shepherd. The good shepherd lays down his life for the sheep. I am the good shepherd. I know my sheep, and my sheep know me, and I lay down my life for the sheep. So, who is the good shepherd? Jesus. Jesus is the one that Micah is pointing to, the shepherd leader. Jesus is the one the Jewish leaders confirmed was born in Bethlehem. Jesus is the King of the Jews the wise men came to worship. Jesus is the wonderful counselor, mighty God, everlasting Father, Prince of Peace, and he will be your peace. When you follow Jesus, peace is yours to enjoy. Do you have peace? It's easy for us to think of it as a concept or idea or philosophy or just, merely the absence of stress. But all these Bible texts point to a person. Peace is only found in the one born at Christmas, in the one who died in our place and rose again at Easter, overcoming sin and death and making peace with God and others, even ourselves, possible. Peace has a name, and his name is Jesus. Do you know him? Do you have peace? If you're actively following the Son who has been born to us, then peace is readily available for you to enjoy. All check stands are open, no waiting. I love that. You don't have to wait for it. It's already ready for you. So if you've made an intentional choice to follow Jesus, if he is your leader and forgiver, then enjoy all that he has for you. The more closely you follow the Good Shepherd, the easier it's going to be for you to enjoy the peace that he offers. And it doesn't mean that you won't have struggles or trials in your life, but when you do, you don't have to stress because the everlasting Father promises to take good care of you. So if you're enjoying peace in your life right now, then let that fuel your worship and celebrations this Christmas. Let it inspire you to passionately revel in the one who is your peace. Let it motivate you to share the good news of the one who came at Christmas. Let it inspire your generosity so that others might get to know the Prince of Peace. If you're a Christian and peace seems to kind of be beyond your grasp right now, you've got anxiety that's preventing you from enjoying the peace that Jesus has for you, then let me encourage you to do a couple things. First, share your burden with someone who loves you and will pray for you. You don't have to go through it alone. You aren't alone. They will remind you of that, and they will help lift your burden. Sometimes we just need to talk about it. The second thing is, I want to encourage you to go to foothillcp.org/sermon and listen to Dylan's message from 3 weeks ago. It's titled Peace in an Anxious World, and I got to tell you, it's magnificent and a great reminder that when we take all our concerns to God like He wants us to, we can experience a peace that seems impossible given the circumstances. It'll refresh your hope, knowing that the God of peace promises to be with you. Even as you journey through the struggle, the mighty God is with you and that He is for you. If you've never chosen to follow Jesus as your King, your Good Shepherd, your Prince of Peace, but you're realizing that you want to, then let me encourage you in a moment to pray with me. I'm going to put some words up on the screen as a prayer. There's no magic in those words, but if they reflect your heart, then go ahead right where you're at and pray them with me. You can pray something like this: Jesus, I want you to be my King, my Good Shepherd, and my Prince of Peace. And right now, I turn my back on all the other ways I've tried to find peace in my life, and I thank you for forgiving my sin. I invite you to be the leader of my life. Help me to trust and follow you for the rest of my life so I can honor you and enjoy the peace that comes from being in relationship with you. If that's your prayer today, because you decided for the very first time that you want to follow Jesus, you want to know the Prince of Peace and experience the peace that only He can bring, then I want to invite you to shoot me a text. The number's on the screen. Just give me your name. Your first name is fine. And write, "Today I choose to follow Jesus." And send that to me. If you'll do that, then we can follow up with you in the coming week and celebrate with you and answer any questions that you may have and help you get to fully enjoying the peace that comes through knowing the one who is born at Christmas. When we lit the candle this morning, we were reminded that peace isn't the absence of conflict, but an unswerving confidence that nothing can undermine the plans God made long ago, even before the world was made. Jesus is the central figure of God's perfect plan, the Son born to us. He alone is our peace. Yes, you will have struggles. You know that. But when the storms come, let me just encourage you to allow those storms to push you even closer to the one who is your peace. Let His presence shepherd you as only the peaceful Prince can, and allow Him to give you the peace that He possesses. Christmas is the promise of peace because it brings the one who is our source of peace. Let that soak in, friends. I want to take a minute now and share communion together. I can't think of a better way to roll out of our time talking about the one who brought us peace than to share communion. So if you have your bread and your cup, let's take a minute in that. Think about the night that Jesus was handed over. He was with his closest friends. And the good shepherd knew that he was about to lay down his life. And he took the bread and gave thanks for it, and he broke it, and he gave it to his disciples, and he said, "This is my body, broken for you. Whenever you eat it, remember me." Friends, together, let us eat in remembrance of the one who came to be our peace. The Bible also tells us on that same night, after supper, Jesus took the cup, and when he had given thanks for it, he gave it to his disciples and said, "This is my blood of the new covenant, the new promise shed for you." He was giving them some advance notice that he was going to lay down his life and take the penalty for their sin. Given for you, he says. Whenever you drink it, do it in remembrance of me. And then there's this other piece that Jesus says, because I tell you that I'm not going to drink this again until my Father's kingdom comes in its fullness. That's the promise and that hope of expectation that we talked about last week. The promise that he didn't just come at Christmas, but he's coming again when all things will be made right. And peace will at long last be firmly and finally secured. So as we drink, let's do it in remembrance of the one who laid down his life for us. Lord Jesus, our peaceful Prince, we just want to say thank you together for all you are and for all you've done. Help us in this crazy sort of time, this season that is just unlike any other in life. Help us to see you as you truly are this Christmas. Help us to know you as you really are this Christmas, setting aside every other distraction, worry, anxiety, struggle, and leaning into you as our good shepherd who will be our peace. Thank you that you promised to do that for us and in us. Help us in all the strength that you have to walk in the fullness of it, to trust you to minister to us as only you can. Thank you that you made it possible for us to live fully and freely. And this week, and in the weeks ahead, anticipating Christmas, tune our hearts to sing your praise. And may you be honored and glorified in our private thoughts and in our family celebrations as we lift you up, the Son given to us, our Prince of Peace. We love you and we thank you in your name. Amen. And now, friends, as we go into this week, may the Lord bless you and keep you and make his face shine upon you. May the Lord look on you with favor and give you peace. Have a great week.